essentially, because the perfection is not being met in entirety, it's an eternal state of failure, is in my mind how I see it. Um, but I,
But you believe something's there, right? Like intuitively, like
okay, yeah. If we're
in
going
your head,
intuitively,
in,
and
no,
if
but
we're going into,
in your head when you think about it, it doesn't make any sense. And but it's not that the concept makes no sense. It's that like the way it's currently structured, like Christianity itself, is flawed and doesn't make any sense. But you do
yeah,
believe some down or somewhere deep down intuitively there is something there, because
dude,
that's how I view it.
if we're going off purely off of an intuition, then it's like my intuition has its own idea, and then everything else in my psyche is there to battle this internal driving concept that everything is way better than we could possibly imagine. And that's
Yeah,
the internal driving concept. It seems like everything else is there to say, no, fuck you, you don't get a good ending, is
yeah.
what it
See,
seems
my
like.
my thing, I've never been religious. Like the closest thing I've ever had to that is maybe like Zen Buddhism, because it really interested me, the whole concept of enlightenment and like and things like that, more than believing in something that's you can't really touch or feel or really understand.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of like me being on a path that I can't escape from really bothers me too. So, but my thing with God is like thinking wise, he's a lazy asshole if he does
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and while I don't think he really exists or has any influence on our lives, I think there is some kind of higher power that is at work at things, because some things are just so unexplainable that like no matter how much I think about them, I'm just like I don't I don't know how that happened. The only way I can think of that happened is some kind of outside source.
I mean,
Like,
I definitely think it's like an intuitive thing because you're walking along on the sidewalk, and every now and again you might notice that, oh, I accidentally stepped on a bug.
yeah.
It's like, or
And sometimes
you
I
know
feel
you
bad.
yeah, underneath a microscope. Oh, dude, I every now and again I feel bad, but over there you can't see it, but there's these little rolls of tape.
Oh yeah.
Basically, it was my sadistic way of combating the fact that I hated that there's these things called June beetles. I call them stink bugs.
Yeah, we got them too.
They
I kill them like
yeah,
crazy.
keep invading my room. I hate them. They just stink up the place. They smell like old dust. I hate them so much. So basically, instead of just outright killing them, because that'll spread the smell everywhere, I capture them on strips of tape and then roll it up into a coffin, and they suffocate to death. And that's what they deserve for being fucking
I
abominations.
I do that. I do that to spiders. I trap them and I just let
Yeah,
them slowly die. So
yeah. Um, so what were we talking about? I got way too
we
into
we were we were, we
sadistic.
were
Oh yeah,
talking about God and the
the
bugs.
bugs. Okay, so you step on the bug, and it's like every now and again you feel bad, but it's like every now and again you're only somewhat aware of it. So like the idea that there's something going on above, yeah, it doesn't really bother me because technically I'm above of a ton of shit.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we should
so
just
it's like,
clarify something though. If if we're predicating this on the idea that enlightenment can't be touched, I want you to know you can touch my enlightenment, and it's very squishy. You're gonna like it.
All right, he just ruined everything. I love it.
Eric, why are you creeping off camera? Is it? Are you touching your enlightenment right now?
Yeah, yeah, he's touching his enlightenment right now.
Ken, my
Yeah.
enlightenment is touching all of you right now.
Okay, that just ruined my entire.
Eric's got a close leaning. What are you wearing? Sort of voice right now. Um, was it shoot? What was I talking about? God damn it, Eric.
Well, that's the thing is, that I think if he didn't just intervene right there, we probably would have went on for like another 6 hours.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I want to go on for another 6 hours.
Yeah, me too. But it's just like, and then I start thinking about everybody else in chat who probably like wants to actually ask stuff, and they're probably just like, "They ever
Fuck
gonna
'em.
stop?
Just.
Are they ever gonna stop?"
You know what? You know what? If they want their own thing going on, they can start their own damn video. They can become hosts.
The
if they want their own.
last 5 minutes and 41 seconds have been recorded.
Oh, I'm still recording.
Oh,
We
you're
got like an
recording?
hour more.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
It's
Fantastic.
basically been two INFJs just like tree hugging each other the entire time for like
You've
the
been
last
you've
5 hours.
been INFJ ping ponging.
Yeah.
You
He's
know what?
he's
You know what
he's
I've been
he's
doing
pretty
this
similar.
evening. I've been ENTP ping ponging with Taylor. He
Ah,
he. We talked off camera for a while, and it's fun, right? It's fun when you got your same type, and you guys kind of you just get each other in a way that you don't necessarily get anybody of a different type, and it's cool because first of all, it seems to me such powerful evidence of the accuracy of the fact that people appear in types, that you're not really unique, right? Like my brain is very similar to Taylor's brain. We
Yeah.
manifest in a lot of different ways out in the world, but we have very similar brains. And it makes it very easy for us to converse. I remember when, just like a week ago or something, host Ken would have a little bit of trouble keeping his fluidity and momentum going. And now I watch him on these videos and he's just like rolling. He just there's like no stumbles or anything. So
Yeah.
I think that's cool. But especially uh, Ken and Unknown are sick fucks. Saren says, "You guys are funny, Taylor and Eric. Ken and Unknown are sick fucks." Well, Taryn, you know what I like about that sentence? It's very clear how you feel. And I don't know what I was saying. Oh yeah, I interrupted you guys in saying, well, since you guys seem to be at a stopping point, that's why I jumped in to say, do you guys want to start a video, a new one, or what, or what do you want to do, or do
I
you?
just while you were in your monologue there, I just ended the old one, so that's probably its own block, and I'm recording again right now, so I don't know what we're.
Nah, you're right though. Talking to him has definitely helped because I'm the one who was commenting on the one of your videos that like he was a broken INFJ and stuff. Because like
Oh,
I could relate to INFJs that like I watch videos on and then maybe ask them a couple things on the internet, but like to have like a full in-depth conversation with one, and then like to watch his facial reactions and stuff like that, it confers that maybe I'm not that broken. And
the
just
fact
it's
that
just a
you're
normal
watching
human
his
behavior.
facial reactions suggests to me that you definitely have. It would not occur to me to say that's what I. I mean, I would, but it would be down the line watching the facial expressions. Uh, it's that's sort of fe thing. Like you get a lot of
It's
information from that.
yeah, it's more of like the eyes. Like I watch people's eyes, and people's eyes tell me a lot of things.
Unknown. What are my eyes telling you right now?
You don't want to know.
Okay, well, what do we want to talk about here? I see a lot of new people here that I haven't encountered before. And what is this thing? It's a big thing. What do you think of this, Eric? I just realized something that I didn't realize. This very format on this go to meeting with MBTI, the subject is a place where you can talk about your weaknesses, you can talk about your troubles, and it's easy because we all use the model to explain how we think of things. It doesn't matter if the credibility or reliability hasn't been proven. It allows us, the people here, to not only get a rough idea of cognition, which less obsessed do, but for people to explain why they're having trouble and try to understand things they couldn't talk to others about. Mind fuck. This is Eric's intent also, I think, or at least a large factor. 6:39 a.m. LC to everyone plus one. 6:41 a.m. ME to everyone. I don't understand what that part means at all. It gives a platform for people to talk about themselves as people and thoughts and analyze similar weaknesses, etc. It's the ultimate psychological aid tool for less sociable and or theory of sets or both. AMLC to everyone. I'm just interested in watching people AMME to everyone. Simultaneo.
He copy pasted his earlier messages. That's why it looks like that.
That's great. I love to hear that. I think that's very smart explanation of things. I think that sounds like it's probably right. Was it my intent? I mean, shit just happens. I don't know. My intent was, come on, everybody, let's play. No more intent than that, really. I'm glad to hear. I think you're right, though. I think the assessment of it is absolutely correct. There's something about the cognitive function model that allows people to achieve what some other commenter would call real self-esteem, where it's acceptance of your weaknesses and understanding of them, rather than defensiveness about them.
Mhm.
When you have a model to explain that says, as a human being, you are endowed with certain things that you're strong at and certain things that you're weak at, and so is everybody else. First of all, I like the fairness of it. So even though we're different, and even though I'm better at you at something, it also means that you're better than me in something. So it's fair, you know. And if you want to complain about unfairness in terms of different endowments, it makes sense to complain within one's own type. Like that's not fair that ENTP is good at sports or something. I don't know. Like if you're gonna complain about unfairness, complain within your type because the type idea seems to allow everyone to to have their own place in that skill hierarchy thing, so that like that. I also think Simultaneo is a good name for a superhero, and his ability is to do multiple things simultaneously. So he could cook breakfast while reading the newspaper, while driving a car, while on a boat, while in a plane, while on a train.
Simultaneous.
The, the impressive thing about that is that the train has to be super big to fit the plane, the boat, and the car inside of it. Any other comments? Let me scroll down. I forgot. I have to scroll down. I think it's the main reason we come here to talk because we can talk about our natures using an easy model to explain things that would be awkward in other situations. Space Train. I like Space Train. Um, I think Space Train is a train that never goes into space, but it's a very, very spacious train that holds within it an in-flight 747 jet within which is an on-the-water shipping container ship, and on that ship is driving Simultaneo in a car where he's cooking a meal. That's his superpower. Space Train. In short, Space Train. Other comments or questions?
No, I was just
This
going to ask Chris, before you go tonight, if you want to link me your. Do you have like a Steam profile or anything?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'll be here for a while. I don't know how long you guys are
Okay.
going. I'm pretty much wired right now after we talked. So.
Okay. Cool
this is
stuff.
the only format known to man for non-psychological professors. Does that mean, or very very close friends to talk about such things and our natures? Yeah. Well, I think it's the sort of thing I probably ought not say, but I do think that it may be people may feel enabled to be more open by the fact that I'm pretty open about everything. It's like I'm very transparent. So I think, on some sense, that might be like, well, this is what they used. Maybe before entering that environment, a person might think this is what a normal level of transparency is. And if being exposed to an extremely high level of transparency, they might sort of subconsciously raise their own level of acceptable transparency a little bit. That's possible too, maybe. I don't know. I'm a real big fan of transparency. I'm a real big fan of the basic strategy that says anytime I fuck up, I want to draw my own attention to it rather than let anybody else draw attention to it. So that's kind of one of the motives behind transparency, right? Is I'm gonna make mistakes, and I don't want anybody else to be able to use those mistakes against me. So it's very important that I jump on it first. It's so crazy that it's this way that in fact I had emailed Taylor earlier in the day a perfectly fine email in response to something he emailed me, but the last sentence of it I thought had a small chance of being read as presumptuous. Later, when I talked to him on the phone, the first thing I said before anything else got said is, "I'm aware of, I'm aware that the last sentence of my email was clumsily rendered, and you don't need to say anything about it." You know, and he didn't know what I was talking about. So just goes to show you. FE spiking, exactly. That's totally spiking. It does. It totally does. Eric Speaker, Chris Barrett. You're right. It's not a bad thing to do because if you don't do it, if you do it, you spend a little bit of time that is kind of wasted if you didn't need to, right? But if you don't do it and you did need to, then you have a big, long fucking explanation about shit, right? Yeah. Um, I'm looking here. Anybody
Yep.
else have any comments? I like reading things in the chat and responding to it. It's it's kind of slow, but I like it.
I got 2 hours of footage out of that. I might crop some of it down, but
I
Fantastic.
got a question for you, Eric.
Go
You,
for it.
like when we were talking to the comments on YouTube, you said you had a response video or something I said. I don't know if you remember what I said. I could probably pull it up, but like,
Give me
oh,
the
he never
gist of
made
it.
that video.
Give me the
what
gist
your
of it.
take was on it. Say what?
Give me the gist of it.
Let me get it real quick. I think I pretty much like talked about it already.
Oh, okay. Well,
Let me get
I
your
think
take on it.
I probably told you I was gonna make a response video. I don't think I made it yet. It doesn't mean I'm not going to make it though. That's the thing. I told
Yeah, I just want to get your take on it.
you have to read it out loud to me. I want to hear it. Is it the one
All right.
about being broken INFJ?
Yeah, it was that, and it was also like the relationship between INFJs and ENTPs, and how it's kind of. It seems like it's almost like a mutual destruction kind of thing. Like, and then how INFJs tend to naturally want to destroy the things around us when we're wrong and stuff like that. It was pretty long. It was on the I got 99 problems on INFJ one video.
Hmm. Um, I want you to read it out loud, if that's
The
okay.
whole thing. It's pretty
Yeah,
long, yeah.
that's
All right.
okay. I want you to read the whole
So
thing out loud.
I wrote, I will agree we are right a lot, but when we are wrong, it's really bad. Like I just pretty much just agreeing with your statement you said in the video. I can say we tend to destroy things around us when we're wrong, which is what I feel. Like when I'm wrong, it
Just
takes me
read
a long
it.
time.
Don't explain it. Read it.
All right, sorry. So you're right. And understanding everything that when we are wrong and don't understand something, we don't seem to know how to deal with it. So it becomes a game of destroying everyone else's opinions and forcing ours. I guess we are kind of like big babies. We don't like being proven wrong or made to look foolish and stupid. I can count the amount of friendships I destroyed on both hands because I was dead wrong and just refused to accept it. Especially with other of ENTPs because I feel like we are similar on an intellectual level. Uh, Spiritually, I guess if you will, we differ completely though. I value truth and honesty above all else in friendships and relationships, and I think that tends to burn INFJs a lot because most people can't be honest or truthful, or general because they're generally scared of the truth and don't want to hear it. And I know for me this has caused many trust issues because people have lied and hurt me pretty deeply after I finally began to open the gates a little. So when I meet a ENTP who is for the most part always straight up and honest with me, I get kind of paranoid and scared, which makes no sense. I don't know. I was just kind of ranting, which
Yeah,
makes no sense to me.
I remember it now. I got this. Yeah,
Yeah.
my take on it was, what I most want to talk about is how annoying it is that this is what I've determined is the rift between me and my INFJ friend is that basically he needs me to respect him, doesn't understand that I respect him regardless of these of whatever he's trying to present to me, right? It's not I'm not respecting him because of his achievement. I'm not respecting him because of his mysticism or anything like that, right? I respect
Mm.
him because he's a good friend of mine and I like him and we have a long history together and we talk about interesting things. If he's chill and not worrying about impressing or something, I really think that's what it boiled down to. Is like he doesn't think I'm gonna, I he feels as though if he's not it, achieving more than me, that I'm not going to respect him or something.
Yeah, that was pretty much the back and forth between me and the ENTP that I met. Is I always felt like I had to impress her for her to accept me or respect me because I never felt like she actually did. Only later on realizing that it was just how you guys kind of just talk. Like you don't really get like emotional all the time too much. Like
Well, you don't like getting called out on shit either.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
thing.
that too.
You don't like
And
getting called out
I
on
do
shit.
that to her all the time. I would always call her out and stuff.
I mean, I don't mind getting called out on shit.
Oh, us? You saying?
You guys don't like getting called out on shit. Look,
Yeah,
ENTPs don't necessarily respond well to getting called out on shit. If you think well is to just be like immediately go, yeah, okay, you're right. But we might push back. There might be some back and forth, but we're looking to find out if we actually are at fault. And if we are, then we'll say, oh, okay, I was wrong. You're right, actually. It might take us a little while. INFJs are looking to end that line of discussion. You know what I'm saying? In
yeah,
general. But I think super developed ones, the more developed they get, uh, I and the thing is, I get to encounter some of them here, some very highly developed ones who understand, first of all, that they project better if they can be honestly like, okay, if they can give some ground occasionally, it works in their favor. They're not taking advantage of that particular FE resource, and they're not taking advantage of the resource of of like being humanly angsty, because you guys don't display as angsty. Ken displays as neurotic sometimes, but you guys don't display as angsty. Like that existence frightens you.
Yes.
yep.
That's the thing you master first, is that existence doesn't frighten you, and you have the calm in the storm.
Hmm.
Is that really what it is? Because I perceive it more as existence is scary as shit. So much to the point that we just kind of pulled a possum mode, where when it comes to existentials,
I don't know
feel
what's
like
going on in your head. I'm talking about what you display.
okay,
Is it? I think it's a mostly display thing.
I
Yeah,
can handle. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
display is
yeah.
half the battle. I mean, it's more than half the battle in a lot of things. It can be all the battle in a lot of things. If you position things right so that people interpret things according to your display, you can find yourself having won the battle without ever even drawing a weapon. I think that's the INFJ's biggest trick, is to win and have the other person not realize they were defeated.
yeah, I can agree with that. It's almost like the display we do put up is like the ideal that we want to become, but we just never really become it. Almost like the display I give at work is that I'm put together, intelligent. I drive a nice car. They have nice clothes. That's the display, and that's the person that I show people in public. And it's really not at all. And I feel like I want to become that, but I just like I
No
can't do it.
matter what you wear, people are still going to see past what you display and see things that you might not want others to see.
Sometimes people see past my sweats and get to see my leg.
Yeah,
You need to shave your legs, Eric.
Is that
yeah.
what you mean? You're gonna see past your clothes? I think people see past your clothes too. I mean, I don't think my clothes really impact people's perceptions of me very much, unless it's really extreme one way or another, right? Like if I'm dressed like a hobo, that's not good. If I'm dressed to the nines, I'll get a little extra special treatment or something. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, that's what I mean. Because at home I dress like I'm either naked or I'm dressed like a hobo. So it's like I find like the middle ground and I maintain that. Whereas normally like I just want to like just be dressed like with like PJs that have holes in them. Like I don't care. Like I don't know. It's more of a thing of we definitely put up facades, and I almost feel like The facade that we put up is what we really want to be.
What makes you think you're not what you really want to be if you're successfully putting up the facade and it has all the elements of the things you want to be?
Because that's not
Because
me.
you're aware that you're not that thing. It doesn't
I'm
matter that
aware.
other people are aware or not.
Yeah, I'm only putting that up because that's what people want. Like, I work in a professional environment, so I act professional. But in reality, I'm not professional. I'm foul mouth. Uh, I'm really bitchy. Like,
Would you like to be more enabled to behave like that more of the time? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, because we were talking about it earlier, and he agreed with me too. It happens to him, but like, I do like video gaming and stuff like that when I was younger. I still kind of do it now, and I'd get very aggressive and angry with people, especially if they didn't listen to what I was telling them to do, stuff like that. And like, I would want to be able to handle the situations like more calm and more professional instead of just like raging on people all the time. Especially if, because the biggest thing for me is like when people ask for my advice, I give it to them, and then they don't heed it, and then they come back to me a week later. It's like, oh yeah, I should have listened to you. Like that drives me nuts and drives me up the fucking wall, and I want to punch them in the face, but I don't do that, or at least I try not to do that. And it,
If you didn't have a full time job, let's say you only worked 12 hours a week, 3 hours here, 3 hours there, 3 hours there, 3 hours there. What would you do with the rest of your time?
now this is the other trick is like in my head I have tons of ideas I want to do. I want to go back to streaming. I want to maybe even compete in video game games. I used to be professional and get paid and sponsored. I'd want to do that again. I'd want to spend more time with fitness and getting into shape and following through with that. But I know, I don't know if Ken will agree, but like while I want to do that, I know 100% when I do get that free time, I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna sit there and just like inside my own head and think about doing it, but never actually do it.
It's like there's some, like you have the vision in mind. It's like there's some missing component. It's like can't get the power to turn on. At least for me, anyway.
I think that you're inferior, SC. You don't know the details. You can, of course, see the big picture and it looks perfect in your head, but you can't translate it into reality. That's the problem. And it also could be a problem with being realistic as well. Maybe being a little too dreamy sometimes. I
Yeah,
only say that because I'm INFJ, like the both of
I
you.
think
So I
there's a
feel like I
problem
can
with
be a little more
rejecting
unfiltered.
help.
If I'm not being as dreamy and I'm being more realistic, then I get sad because I'm not fulfilling the dreaminess. But if I get too dreamy, then I start getting existential. Like, why does life suck?
yeah,
Why does everything
Yeah, yeah. I
just
was the same way.
everywhere
I was the
not work?
same way. I would get sad whenever I had to take the fantasy and mold it into reality because the reality will never match up to your ability to imagine the perfect thing. And if you learn how to accept that, the sadness does go, it goes away and you start living a life that involves others and it isn't just about your dream anymore.
I think that's actually like the biggest thing because it's like what I said in like the comments that even though INFJs, we kind of like crave like the truth and discovering the truth of things and things like that. I swear to God, like we're terrified of it because
I know
when it
you
doesn't
are.
when it doesn't match up with what's in our heads of what the truth is, we will completely shut down.
And
So
that's the problem. You hold on to that imagination so much, and then a few years go by, and you realize you didn't do much in those past few years because you
I
were
didn't do
holding
anything.
on so much to that dream. There has to be a balance. It's not about giving up the dream, but a balance is the best way I can describe it.
I would say INFJs are at risk for being unwilling to produce compromised versions of the thing that they want to occur, to restate what Lightbulb said, basically. Um, that I've experienced with my friend that he's got some great songs. I'm more than happy to go out of my way to facilitate his recording of those songs. He's very, very particular that it be exactly so. He doesn't really want anybody else's hands on anything, you know? And the consequence is not that he produces this perfect song that's rendered as close as possible to his vision. The result is that he produces nothing.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it. Like
You end up producing nothing.
it was the same thing when like I started trying to full-time stream. Like it's something I really wanted to do, I think, and I did start doing it, and I tried to balance it. So like I don't know how.
What do you mean stream?
You never
Video
seen like
games.
Twitch TV? It's not just video game stream anything, but like Twitch
Okay.
TV is a huge media now. Like you never seen that? No? Twitch TV? You should check it out. Twitch.tv. It'll blow your mind. You probably never. Once you see it, you'll be like, I didn't know this even existed.
You can basically watch people live play video games. So it's like kind of like watching football on the TV, except people are competing in video games and whatnot.
It's not even just competing. Some of them are
Okay,
just
sorry.
it's a lot of them are just like entertainers. Like it's a
The people
it's
doing
actually
running
fascinating.
commentary, people doing running commentary in their
Oh yeah,
video games.
oh yeah. I mean, you can watch professional athletes. You can call them athletes. Some
Well,
people
I
don't even
mean,
call them.
I have to say, it sounds boring watching somebody play a video game. It's boring in real life watching somebody else play a video game, but I don't actually know because I've never watched a video of someone playing a video game. So, like, yeah, I'm just saying it sounds boring to me, right? It sounds boring
Next
to
time,
watch someone
next
playing a
time,
video game.
next time, like one of the big tournaments is on, I'll try to link it to you and you can watch because
I'm sure if it's a
it
big
plays just like
okay,
regular
that's
sports
different.
with
That's
commentary.
different.
It has commentary, yes,
That's different. If it's a big competition and there's like a championship online or something,
yeah,
just about anything can be interesting, and including video games are a perfectly fine sport. But if it's just people sitting at home playing video games and saying,
yeah,
"Ooh, I made it to level 4," that sounds boring.
yeah. But that's the thing is, it just like you said, you need the commentators to bring in, the entertainment value. That's what differentiates the successful streamers from the non-successful ones. The ones that just stream them playing the game all day is boring. The ones that get on camera, kind of make fools of themselves and make it entertaining, are the ones that succeed and make. Some of them are like multimillionaires. Like it's actually ridiculous. They're like 17-year-old kids driving around supercars because they're just loaded because it's such a explosive market right now, and it's pretty much
Sorry,
being
off
completely
topic.
absorbed by kids.
Off topic
Hey,
interjection. Who the fuck buys a car that costs fucking money?
I
not
do.
me.
I love cars. Maybe that's where we
Why?
differ. I love cars.
Yeah. Yeah, finally, we have something we disagree on. You're a fucking idiot. Why are you buying a car that costs that much?
I just bought a really
So
expensive
much
car
other stuff you can do. Like, here's this thing. It costs as much. Well, I don't know how much you spend on it, but
because it makes me happy. All right,
it's
man.
like it costs as much as a house,
No, it
but
doesn't.
it depends on the ones you get, Eric. I'm
Houses
talking
in
about
Southern
these.
California are expensive.
Okay,
Houses
we're
up
not
north.
okay. Dayton, Ohio is not as well off as Southern California.
Look,
Uh,
I might even conceivably see myself buying at some point. If I were gonna buy a fancy car, I would buy a Mercedes, and the reason why I would buy it is this: I rode in one time with a parent who was driving me around. It was a brand new Mercedes, and the thing that tripped me out that I liked a lot about it was it it grabs you when you turn. It grabs you and prevents you from falling this way or that way, like the seat does. The seat kind of like shifts and grabs you. It's great, and so it's like you don't get jostled around as much, right?
For me, it's a proportional thing. It's like I get a really nice car if I was a multimillionaire, but it's like the idea of
I'd have
like
to, yeah,
somebody,
I'd
yeah,
have to
if
be
somebody
pretty
only
rich
has
too.
somebody only has $120,000 in the bank and they spend 60,000 on a car. I'm like, what?
But
Why?
yeah,
see
but
that
Why?
if they have
that's the
60
difference.
grand, if they have 60 grand to spare and they're going to spend it on something, I'd probably spend the 60 grand on this German piano that's on sale near my house. It's $60,000. I want to get it, but I can't. I certainly can't afford it. But maybe someday I might buy that
Yeah, but
piano.
that's
Well,
that's the
I
thing.
just,
That's
yeah.
that's the difference right there, though, Kev. Is like you said, you're working not full time or whatever. You're as a janitor. I probably make more money than you, so that's why I can enable myself to get things like that. And trust me, it took me a long time. It took almost 5 years to finally buy this car. I was looking at it for like 5 years. Like that's how long it
Okay.
took me to finally like
Pull the
convince
trigger.
myself it was necessary and
Yeah.
it had meaning. So, but anyway, we were like completely off topic because I forget what we were talking about now.
It
We're talking about
happens.
I'm gonna read
uh,
some comments here. It
Oh,
says,
Eric, are you recording? You've been
yeah, I'm
recording,
recording.
right?
I've
Okay.
tried to think of actual careers, says host Ken, and the more I think about them, the less I want to do anything. Eric's biggest critic, Barry, says, if you don't address the given reasoning to TI point of view or statement or instruction, you have not used the correct criteria for a good conversation. In other words, other people should be more like me.
That's what Barry's been saying the whole night.
Why
He's
would a
been
TI
using
user
different
respond
words
to a
to like
statement
the
that does
same
not address the me?
framework.
until somebody notices. He's like, "Notice me, senpai, please."
Well, he has a
He's
camera and
basically
mic. He's choosing to hang in the chat. He could pop up out of the water if he
Hey,
wanted
hey
to.
Barry, this is the culmination of that slope you're talking about me going down earlier. This is the culmination of me saying, God, Barry's such a dick.
Barry, I like you. I like your TI heavy nonsense. I'm fond of it.
But
It it,
Barry's just gonna be
it probably resonates a little bit better with me with TI in the second slot than perhaps the INFJs. Just a
Barry, I
thought.
like you a little bit, but I'm sure after a while I'm probably gonna become hating you because so far like, it just takes time. Like I'm sure over time.
I bet a lot
he's
of
gonna
people learn to hate Barry after they communicate with him for a bit because he's somebody who's not afraid to point out some inconsistencies about things.
it's like probably what's gonna happen, Chris, is that Barry's gonna use some technical jargon. He's gonna use like a 100-word post. He's gonna say some things that are gonna go over your head, and the
Yeah,
social awareness. Not maybe
that,
not even lack the social awareness. He's just going to put it in a way that gives zero fucks as to whether or not you like what he said.
yeah, but the thing is he's been like writing huge blocks, and when people write huge blocks like that, I don't read it, so it's not gonna get read. I just ignore it.
Yeah.
That kind of wins the round probably. Um,
Well,
Fucking
it's okay, maybe
INFJs. This is what INFJs do. Eric's biggest critic, Barry. Don't even stress about it because what INFJs do is lose the argument and win the round. I'd rather have the argument.
Uh,
This is not a topic video as far as I can tell. However, I'm going to go down and scroll down and see if something reminds me that yes, it is. Oh, goodness. So, light bulb. It sounds to me as though you have made progress on this polar SE thing. Do you find in your own life that it's less of a problem
Polar
for you
SE,
now than it used to be?
Polar T.
Yes, definitely. Uh, I've had so many obligations come up that I've been forced into SE, and so I've executed more things, and as they've executed, I'm realizing that it's not my dream, but then it happens and I realize, oh, that's not so bad. So I think it's made me more
Do you have
well-rounded.
do you have a family? Can I ask that? If you don't want to answer, it's fine.
Yes, oh, you mean like my children?
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
but so no, I don't have my own family.
oh okay. Um, Sometimes that will parenthood can often force somebody to extrovertedly sense.
Oh, I
Um,
can see that definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, what was the driving force? Like, was it circumstances forced you to make these changes, or you felt as though there were elements of yourself you weren't satisfied with, and you wanted to make the changes? Was it sort of like a intentional self development thing, or just a growing up, aging a little bit, or what?
I bit off more than I can chew. I've always had this thought that I could do anything if I to it. And so in 2015, I threw myself into a master's degree. I bought a house and I was in the middle of the house buying process, and I wanted to change jobs, and all of that really was way too much for me to handle. And so I had to start making decisions, and I didn't have a whole lot of time to think about them. Like I always had plenty of time to think about whatever I wanted because I never overloaded my plate. So then when I overloaded it, I was forced to make decisions, and everything turned out okay.
Right.
So
Yeah,
you didn't fail at any.
it's very difficult in life if you've got yourself uh, stretched out too much. It's really because there's whole element of life that requires one to allot some period of time for play or whatever else or non-handle shit, you know? And if you get yourself too stretched out, then even when you're in that time period, you're still mentally having to manage all that shit. You know, it's like you never get to rest. It's always on your mind until it gets handled.
Right, there was no rest. So much that little personal detail, I don't mind. Got shingles for the first time because of everything that everyone needed from me.
Did you have chickenpox when you were a kid?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know somebody who got shingles and she was absolutely miserable.
it's not fun.
So,
Question is, were you able to keep out water then at that point?
I as
Your
soon as
water
you
system?
started talking, I was like, I know where kid's going. He's joking. I can tell by his tone.
Well, that's fine, but I didn't hear the joke. What was it?
I was asking, are you able to keep out water now since you got shingles? You're probably covered, right?
Ah, ha, ha, ha. So
Aren't you
clever.
glad you asked him to repeat it? Um,
Yes, I am.
okay, so you had an actual physical reaction you think that was correlates to the stress. When I get super stressed out, I don't know if I get physical reactions exactly, but I start yelling at everybody for no reason, basically. That's,
Uh,
Well, I think in some of your videos, like when you get honed in on your point, it's like there's this acceleration in your speech, and then there's an elevation in the sound. And then it's like you realize about, I don't know, 20 seconds to a minute into it, you like realized you've changed volume and pace, and then you like come back down.
yeah.
well, I try to vary all dynamics. If I'm and so it's something I intermittently keep track of in my head. What that means is I want to vary pitch, pace, volume, and tone. You know, so if an effective speech does all those things, it varies dynamics on all those levels because it changes emotions. It brings people up to the laughing parts, and it's a guided tour of a thinking, feeling garden.
Do you teach your kids in debate like speech patterns and volume levels?
Well, debate's a little different than speech. I teach the kids in speech those things, but
Oh,
I don't teach kids in debate that because debate's much less presentational. So as long as they're clear, what I had the people in debate do are pen drills. Pen drills are where you put a pen like this and you read the card. So globalization will cause economic blah blah, blah like that. You know, to make them clearer.
that's funny.
A lot of the
Yeah,
kids come
that's
in with
good.
mushy mouth. Yeah. So those speed up, slow down things, they do correlate with me getting into the point. What happens probably, I bet the thing you see there is the moment when the rest of the argument chain falls into place in my head. And then I go, and okay, there's the end of it, you know? And then I roll through to the end. And then at the end I probably note, oh, you just used fast, so you need to change. Like, or you just
Because
used
you,
loud, so you need to change.
well, it's like you're running bases, and like once you round third, you sprint.
Yeah, probably.
Mm.
I mean, the thing is, it's if I'm arguing against something, and let's say I'm making a response video and I have something in front of me that I'm reading, that'll be kind of like the pacing of the thing. But if I don't have anything in front of me that I'm reading, but I'm trying to say this idea is wrong or this concept is bad or something like that, the first part of it will be feeling out the idea, talking it through for myself, and finding where exactly I'm going. I probably came in with a couple of basic ideas if it's a solo video, right? And
Okay, so
then
maybe not
feeling it out.
rounding the bases, but an exponential. Like you start out flat, and then you make that. I mean, flat and maybe in every directions because you've got so many ways you can go about this. So maybe not exponential, but that's what
Well,
I think of now.
it does speed
Slow,
up.
and then
It does because it's because the ideas start to come together. I think mostly, so I get to go faster because it doesn't take me as long to figure out what I'm trying to get at.
hmm.
Probably, but it's interesting. I don't. I would like those sort of decisions to be decisions, but there's a certain extent to which they can't for me. They're just sort of reactive. Do you think heavy British, posh British accent would help in one of your competitions? Probably it would. Probably it would. I'm wondering if it's going to help in talking with famous people
Oh, Barry.
if I adopt such an accent. Um, that's so. It's interesting how you observe those things in a video. When you when you watch somebody's video, do you are you not happy if you're just listening to it? You want to have to you want to see it as well, or are you happy with just listening to it?
Yeah, I need to see it too.
Sometimes I just listen. Like I don't need to see faces.
Okay.
Just the voice is fine.
You
I'm
get
just
a
really
lot of
bad at
information from
that.
auditory stuff, right? I mean, I know I do. I get tons of it from tone and stuff. I don't feel like I need to look at faces either, but then I'm not very visual.
I have a hard time paying attention if it's just audio. Like I hear it, but I don't actually process it as much as if like I'm watching you speak and watching your mannerisms and stuff like that, and that connects me way more than just listening to it.
Hmm.
Well, the auditory thing might come with age.
Maybe. Um, I mean, it, you don't look very old, light bulb. Like
No, I'm
you
old.
sound pretty. You sound like you've been around. You've had a few things happen in life. You obviously got a job and stuff like that, and a house and stuff like that. But uh, you know,
I don't know.
old is like I call myself old because I'm 45, and and then people when people who are like 30 call themselves old, I have my doubts about
I
their
was calling myself old when I was like 21, so.
okay. Okay.
That's so
Maybe
sweet.
it's like an INFJ thing or something, but like as soon as I
Here,
turned
have a
25,
tissue.
I turned 25 this year. As soon as I turned 25, I was like all day at work. I was like, oh, I'm a freaking old man now. Like holy crap! Like I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
start getting a rocking chair.
pretty much just once I turned 18, to me, I'm just quickly careening towards death at this point.
Pretty much.
Oh, Ken, I thought the same thing when I was your age. It's like I thought about the whole rest of my life. It's kind of nostalgic to
I
listen to you guys.
I always hate the comment people have where it's like my parents will say, "You got your whole life ahead of you." I'm like,
Oh my
"Well,
god, every day.
I've already lived 20 years, so actually I don't have my whole life ahead of me." And that's also assuming that I make it to any particular age.
It's
Also
more
discounting.
Oh, yeah.
They're discounting me dying
You
like
should say,
Jimi
"Did my
Hendrix.
childhood mean nothing to you?"
Right. Yeah.
it's more of like you feel like your prime years are gone already, and then you're like sitting there like, what the hell did I do with them?
The dream years are gone. Everything here from now on is all downhill because I used to think things could be okay. Now I know that they're not going to be okay, so it's all shit from here. basically.
No,
Um,
it's great listening to you guys because it just makes me realize that INFJs are not unique. We all sound the same.
But here, I just got like one question about you were talking about how you took on more than you can handle. You say you
Yeah.
took on more you can handle, but you still handled it all in all, right? Like you didn't give up anything. You just
Okay.
kind of sorted it out a
Yeah,
bit
I
more.
did. I gave up my health for
Yeah, but that's never really been important to us.
she had to give up
um
ketchup. It was awful.
Like I
well,
sacrificed my health for a lot of things.
I'd
listen,
sacrifice my health for money.
25-year-old version of myself. You think you know everything. You've been talking a lot this evening. I'm just going to lay it out for you.
Oh,
There's so much more for you to learn.
get them.
Just you need to breathe.
Well, that's what I'm trying to ask you. Like,
Eh,
I'm sorry. Did you say you need to breathe or you need to
Yeah.
breed?
Oh,
I
stop.
breathe too.
You
You
need to
know I
breed.
said
You need to
breathe.
get like get. You need to get like
Yeah,
spread
Yeah,
out.
you might need
I
that as
really
well.
that
Maybe
that
not
that
breed.
is the overlying problem. I swear to God, it's like I just need some kitty cat.
You need a date.
Half of my existential shit I could just drop if I just got laid for one. Like half of the just
you know,
angry rants I have towards existence.
but,
Like
but
it
my
probably would
thing is
help.
like for me, like I was telling Ken, like because somebody would bring up that we sound really self-centered the way we talk, and I was
Yes.
just like, I don't feel I'm self-centered, but at the same time, like I was telling him, I don't feel like there's anything I can't do. So that's why when you said, "Oh, I took on all these things," I was like, in my head, I was like, yeah, because she thought she could do everything and nothing could ever stop her, and it's easy if she actually puts effort into it. So my thing is like you got stressed out over it, but you still didn't actually like fail in anything. You still did everything you wanted to do, kind of. So it's
What
like,
Yeah,
she didn't take
but
on more than she could handle. She took on more than she ought to have taken on.
yeah, but she still succeeded with it.
there's
But that
something
doesn't change the fact that she
it's
took on
still
more than she ought
odd.
to have taken on because the criterion for oughtness is not whether or not she succeeded in fulfilling the minimum required amount to consider it an accomplishment, but rather whether she made a choice that is comfortable with her life pattern.
I don't know. What I'm trying to ask is like, I'm sorry.
Like
What I'm trying to ask,
like that light bulb.
what I'm trying to ask is like, have any of the other INFJs ever actually experienced what they would consider failing at something? Because I don't think I ever have, and I think that's kind of my problem. Is like, anything I've ever taken on, I don't think I've ever felt like I've failed at it. And I look at
Well,
things,
you just failed in your last point, which I just defeated, right?
no,
And then you try to dodge that fact by carrying on with something as though that defeat never occurred. How about that?
yeah, but what I just said was my actual point, not what I was
Oh,
saying. I
have
was
you? Did you kick your previous one? I don't recall you doing so.
goddamn ENTPs, man.
Eric, you're in the
Okay.
wrong room.
That's one thing you need to do is stop telling yourself that you never fail. That's not really a healthy habit.
Do it the other
I have
way.
the
Tell yourself
opposite.
you
Yeah,
always
no, no.
fail.
Yeah, no, yeah, seriously. I was gonna say I do it in the opposite direction. It's like I never succeed at anything because I
But
never do anything
no,
perfectly.
that's wrong too, Ken. The correct answer is I always fail. So I need to hurry up and fail more. So that
Yeah, but
why? If I ever want
that
to
fact,
succeed at anything, I have to acknowledge that I'm constantly failing now. Because later, someday, this is what your dream should be. It should be a single vision of like, this is how reality should be. It should be a vision of someday I'm going to be good at everything.
Uh,
But I'm bad at everything now. Except that always, even when you start getting pretty good at stuff, sort of secretly know I'm still bad at everything or not good enough at everything yet.
I think you're right because I think if I had that mentality, I wouldn't get bored with things as easy as I do. Like I tend to start things and then halfway through I'm like, I feel like I've done enough and I could do this if I really wanted to, but then I just kind of stop doing it.
Now
I think it's
that's
to
an
avoid
ENTP
failing.
thing there, where you go,
I think it's to avoid failing, to be honest.
oh, if you can see, if you get to, all right, oh, now I can see the end. So now I know what's going to happen. So now I'm bored by this and don't want to do it anymore. That's an
Yeah.
ENTP thing.
Huh.
Like, now that I
yeah,
figured it out, oh, it's boring now. It's just the detail work. Just filling in the dots. I don't want to do that shit.
you're talking about like boring stuff and boredom. It's like I feel like in life, uh, I can handle all the emotional shit. I can handle the boredom because as far as boredom goes, all that needs to happen is for things to stop being boring. Then I don't care if everything before it was boring because it's not boring now.
Yeah.
Um, my thing, and this is kind of shifting topic a little bit. It's like for me, it's like the thing that I'm bothered by is the idea of uh, losing both vision and hope. Like to me, like the really damn. It's not even so much. I feel like emotional shit I can get over. If I'm bored, I can eventually get over that. It's losing hope. That's the kind of stuff that I think is kind of crippling, even though it's also something
Terrifying.
I can get over. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I was stuck in a rut when I was like doing like online dating for a while, which was a horrible idea. Like I was just like, now I regret ever doing that. But
Oh,
it was
did
like
you
this thing where
fail?
like I didn't never really fail. I don't think I failed. More in
I
the sense
did. I failed at
nobody
it.
gave me nobody gave me the chance because nobody ever responded.
Are
So
you,
nobody ever responded,
did
so I
you
never
use
got the chance
Tinder?
to
Did
actually
you use
fail.
Tinder?
Oh, I don't want to talk about Tinder because I swiped right for like a week straight on everybody, and nobody ever swiped back.
Did you have the premium one?
No, I'm not paying for that. You
Okay, let me
crazy?
tell you. Let me explain something to you. It's the number situation is such, and the nature of the way Tinder works. There are plenty of guys out there probably who get a lot of responses, but you got to accept if you're not like I don't know Biff Studlington or something, then you just got to accept that for every like that you have, that chick gets 100 likes for every like a guy gets for sure. Because
Yeah.
chicks are the ones who are being, who the peacocks go in front and they like put their feathers up, and then the chick goes,
Yeah,
eh.
they swarm. They swarm. Yeah.
So the thing is, no, I mean, no guys like my friend Johnny, right? He's the most like slay the puss guy that I know. And
Hmm.
he actually is that, and not necessarily, and not in a bad way at all. Like sometimes he'll show me his phone. I'm like, why are all those women sending you naked pictures of themselves? you know, and he's like, well, I'd broken up with that girl, and so I was back, checking out the scene a little bit, and I'm like, okay, well, I mean, it's like, yeah, Johnny, not ESTP. He's ESFJ.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He has to be INFJ, FJ because they're like the pussy
He's
slayers and
FJ. He's
person of the
FJ,
group.
but and he's a certain kind of FJ man that chicks like, right? He's he's like a man's man. Like he looks kind of buff, and he played football in high school, and he's not he's not into fancy words and abstractions. He's into fixing shit in the garage, that kind of stuff. Chicks go crazy over that. Chicks
It, it's
go
it's
hog wild over that shit.
it's funny too because I feel like those kind of people, they don't have to do anything for that to happen too. Like they don't actually have to try. It just happens to them. It's just kind of like this weird dumb luck thing with them. But like,
It's the same with every type. We all have our own dumb luck about shit. That's their dumb
yeah,
luck.
that's their dumb
I
luck.
think it's a stupid thing to have dumb luck about. Once you
Yeah,
get out of your
it
20s,
should
you
be.
realize that is not something that is of all at interest. Like for me, I'm interested in getting in one more relationship in my life, the last one I get into. And I'm not that interested. I'm not even pursuing it. When I want to pursue it, I'm going to go on Tinder. Then I'm going to swipe right a whole shitload, and I'm going to buy the premium one. And some of those chicks will reply to me. You just have to be a patient fisherman, and you have to not internalize it like the fact that all these chicks are rejecting me means I'm not a good catch or something like that. If you start thinking like that, then you've misunderstood the nature of reality, which is it is very, very difficult to find the right match for yourself in for any reason whatsoever. And every single vector is against you. Both like that, the numbers thing, like all those chicks that you swipe right on, there may be many of them actually, if they were to talk to you and shit, and you were to get together and meet a little bit, you like each other a lot. But it works the other way around too. And so the fact is, you just have to do the legwork. That's what it boils down to. If you really want that, you just got to do the legwork. And it's boring, and it's expensive, and it's dumb. And I mean, because here's the thing, I went on like 3 Tinder dates. I swiped a lot of rights. I got a few things. I went on 3 Tinder dates eventually after being on Tinder for like a month or two. I don't know, a couple months. And the first chick hated me. I could tell right away. She hated me. And she was a poet, right? So I was like, oh, that's great. Let's talk about poetry a little bit. And she hated me because I don't know. She's like, oh yeah, I write poetry. Like, oh, do you do you like to write metered verse? And I started asking her a bunch of poetry questions, and she didn't know anything about poetry.
Oh yeah. Whenever you ask them about the stuff they write in the profile, they actually don't know about it. But like
No,
what
but
I'm
she
trying to
was
say is
talking
that
about it right then. She was talking about it to me, talking about poetry and this poetry journal and that poetry journal. And she did, I think, actually know about poetry journals and that kind of thing, but she didn't know anything about poetry. When I was talking to her about
Structure.
structure, about rhyme schemes, about metered verse versus blank verse versus free verse. Like she didn't know anything about poetry, about writing poetry. She only knew she called herself a poetry writer, knowing she knew nothing about writing poetry, but she knew about poetry journals.
You hurt her feelings.
I didn't hurt her feelings. I didn't say any of that shit to her. I just asked her questions that she didn't know the answer to. Cause I thought it was her expertise.
Made her feel embarrassed, Eric. She was coming in wanting to feel like the expert, and they were like, "Well, do you know about these
Or
things?"
It wasn't like that. I was trying to get her to tell me about her shit.
Eric,
you
Eric,
felt like
God,
you
Eric,
that
you
is
just
that is such a TP thing too, because my friend would do that all the time. Is I'd bring something up like interesting, like a topic to talk about, and she would always have to like know all the little details more than me, like all
I,
the
I
time.
didn't I didn't have to know all the little details, okay? If you said to me, I'm an expert on cars, I'm like, oh, what kind of transmissions do you like? It doesn't mean I'm presuming to be an expert on cars. I'm asking you a basic question about cars. If you're supposed to be a car expert, a car mechanic, you should know what a transmission is, right?
Yeah,
maybe she just took it as she felt like you were quizzing her instead of
Uh,
um, interested in
or she was just
information.
really
Maybe.
sensitive, really sensitive.
Maybe I
Yeah,
was.
you can't
Maybe I did something
prejudge.
wrong. I don't know. Who cares?
maybe
I didn't like the
maybe
chick anyway.
she wanted to be the one that was interested in poetry, and she wanted you to brush off the poetry and be like, "Oh, okay, but I'm into this. I'm into fixing motorcycles.
Right.
My name's Eric. I
Hey.
fix motorcycles. You can be in your poetry, but I'm gonna fix shit."
Well, you just be like, hey, what's up? Poetry, huh? Yeah, that's just dumb. You want to go to my place? Let's go. She'd be like,
Yeah,
yes, yes, Eric, I do. I want to go with you. If I had just
yeah.
done
That's
that,
what
I should just do
She'd be
that
like,
next time, and then
that,
they'll
that's
melt before
she'd be
me.
like, "Yeah,
that,
poetry's
that's what I
poetry's a
found
good
hilarious
thing."
about online dating is like the less intelligent I tried to be, the more success I had. And the other thing is too, it's like he was talking about how his biggest fear is like giving up hope, and it's like I think that it's true for most INFJs because like no matter how many times nothing worked out on like online dating, I just kept doing it. Like every day, I'd be like, oh, search for the matches again. I just wouldn't stop because like I always had that little hope in my mind. I think if I really gave that up, I'd probably just like stop doing anything.
You should redirect your attention to, like, I
Things
don't
that are
know.
important.
I don't want to redirect my attention. I just want to fucking win.
I think it's like
I want to get it my way, how I want it, instead of having to
Good luck.
compromise.
the only reason why I've been going on those sites, suggestions from other people, mostly because like I've pretty much been alone for the majority of my life. Like I've had girlfriends, relationships, friendships, but at this point, this is probably the loneliest I've ever been.
What are your
So
hobbies?
Well, Chris, you're not lonely right now, are you?
I don't know, I'm not lonely right now. I'm having a good time. That's why
You're
I'm up here.
talking. You're talking to me. And you're hearing me tell you the following thing, which is, I don't got a woman neither. All right, and
The problem is, it's the other half of it. Like, I'm not gonna rub his Tinder bits. I don't know about you. I ain't doing it.
hey,
I
kid,
don't. I don't
I'm
do
not
that at all.
rubbing it. I'm not rubbing his goddamn tender bits. I'm telling him a wise old man story.
What
Now
about
listen
his
here,
mic?
youngin.
Are you gonna squish his
Listen,
mic?
listen here, youngin. I don't got no woman neither. And let me tell you something.
That's
Remember,
depressing.
you could choose to look for that woman, or you could lay out a bait filled with honey and wait for that a woman to come to you. And that's what I'm going to do. I
Finally,
decided
you
some
can.
time back, I know, I'll wait until I am more successful. Then women will want to be with me.
Yep. I know, like I know that. It's just something
I'm
makes me
trying to
want to
get
start with.
famous. That's how I'm going to get a woman. It's
You're
my,
gonna be
my
famous.
plan. Isn't that a good
That is
That's
plan?
pretty.
the
That is a
worst way
really.
to get a
What?
woman.
That's the
What do
worst
you
way.
mean?
What are
It
you
won't be
talking about?
authentic.
I'm
You guys are
authentic. I'm not.
women
It'll
are
be authentic for me.
No,
Hey,
you're
women
famous.
love a man
Then
who's
the woman.
famous and has
Never
money.
mind.
Don't even lie about it. You know, it's true.
dude,
But the point isn't just that. It's like if you're famous, you have a lot more opportunity to meet different people, right? Like
at the same time, though, if I don't meet someone until I'm, fairly well off, I'm also not going to respect them as much because I'm like, what, you're just jumping in when things are good. Fuck you.
but
Like,
look, I mean,
Yeah,
the thing
yeah,
is,
that's the other thing.
that's
That's why
how
I'm
it
looking
works,
now
though.
because it's like I'm kind of down. So like, I want to find somebody who will accept me when I'm down. So when I do get back up to that point, they're like, I know they're not just there because I'm at that point.
it's also kind of a pipe
But
dream, though, because if they
you're
accept you
never,
while you're
it's a,
down,
yeah,
you're
Hey,
not going to attract somebody who's really on the up while you're down.
yeah,
Because
that's
then
the
otherwise
problem.
it's not going to be a relationship.
I,
It's going to be skewed. They're
the,
going to be carrying your shit.
she's
the
gonna be
even
on the
bigger
down
problem,
too.
yeah, the even bigger problem is like I don't even want a girlfriend because I ain't got the money or the time for it.
Yes,
But
you
I
do.
still
You
look
want
I
a
for it.
don't have the
girlfriend.
money or the time. Well, I got the time. I
I
don't have
want
any.
one. I want one, but
Hmm. So you just
it's
said you didn't want one.
but I don't want one. It's
You do
confusing
want one.
All right.
because I want
Well,
one, but
Let's
then
find out who doesn't want one
as
too.
soon as I get one, I'm gonna be like, oh, dude, what did I get myself into again? Like, I don't have time for this shit.
You want
well,
one and you also don't want one. Yeah.
look. The
We want
point is,
companionship. I think that's what INFJs want. We want companionship.
young people especially. I know I was this way when I was 18 to 25 or something. I was absolutely obsessed with my reproductive viability. You know,
I think that's what it is
I
companionship.
see I see those guys over there, and they have girlfriends, and I see that guy over there, and he goes out and slays the puss, and here I am sitting at home, wondering why there's no woman for me, or going out with my male friends to have fun or something. Why is it that I'm not ever talking to females even? It's like they come in the group and they just sort of it's like I have a radius around me of some sort of anti-female energy that makes them stay at least 7 feet away from me, right?
What is
When was
that?
the
How
last
do you
time you
get rid of
showered?
it?
Light bulb, this is a long time ago I'm talking about. I'm talking about when I was 18 to 25, okay? I'm not talking about now. Um, and the the reason was because two things. Um, I it was clear that it was on my mind, right? That I wanted a chick. And for the second reason, it was clear that I had no idea how to get one.
Mm,
Now, the second one might not be the case for you, but if a chick can see that you're thinking a lot about wanting to get a chick, that's that's a problem.
yeah, no, that is true. If they see you're too like you want to talk too much, you're too needy and stuff, and things like that, it kind of
Oh,
turns them
being
off.
thirsty. That's what it's
Yeah,
called.
being thirsty. You're right. That's what it is. But it's
Why is everything such a fucking power struggle? It's like a goddamn game all the time, except it's not a
yeah.
fun game.
I
It's
don't
like,
know.
here's this task that you need to slave away at.
I think my need for always needing to have like some kind of girlfriend or something stems from mostly my parents and how
Thanks,
they
Hayden, for that phone.
yeah they my mother would always like because I never would share with her like if I had a girlfriend or something like I don't tell her about it so she assumes I'm single and I'm just some fucking nerdy ass virgin and she would always make fun of me all the time for it so I think it was from
Who
that
would do this?
motivation
Who would make fun of you
my
for
mother
this? Your mother would
yeah
make fun of you for your virginity?
yeah which I it's
What
just
an
like
awful cunt. Um,
yeah that's what I told her too I was like you know what fuck it
yes, that's fucking awful. Look, I
and
mean, the thing is,
she would do the same thing with my
all the
brother.
following things are true. Whatever your identity is, to the extent that others are telling you your identity needs to be different
Yeah,
because
and that's what it
it
was.
doesn't measure up in some sense. They need to have 17 gallons of wrongness poured up their anus via enema, and then it'd be shaken back and forth like a paint can to mix it all up in there, and then I don't know, used to paint a house or something. The point is, what I wanted to say was not that though. It was I have to go because I have a date with Hayden's iPhone. It's a
Yeah.
joke. I joke. I
Uh,
joke.
was it, you were talking about your situation, having your mom started poking fun at you. I never had, like, my mom was probably the opposite. She didn't, I think she'd be fine with the fact of me not losing my virginity till I'm married and 30 or something like that. But it was sort of weird where it was like it was even pursuing relationships, because in my mind, if I'm pursuing a relationship, it's going to lead to sex, and they didn't like the idea of me having sex when I was younger. So it was like that I just sort of didn't. I just didn't want to get affiliated with having a relationship, um, because it seemed like there was too much, ambiguity, and like there wasn't like clear theology or anything people were leading with, or even their own morals or ethics. So it was just confusing. So I just tried to avoid the situation altogether. But just by the fact of my parents having a relationship, but it simultaneously being something that I thought I should be avoiding, it created like this weird thing where I'm like, well, why do you get to have fun? Basically, it's like,
Yeah.
why do you get to have fun, and why am I just, you know,
It's like we were talking about earlier, how like it was kind of like we kind of have like a lack of emotional attachment to our parents. Like we almost use them in a sense. And the fact that my mother would say something like that, and then like for me, it's like it's none of your business because like we've never connected like on an emotional level. Like I don't share anything. I never shared anything with her. Like we were very disconnected. So the fact that she would say like that and like poke fun at me, and like even when I started gaining weight at one point, she even like would make fun of me because I was getting fat. Like I was just like, really, really, bitch, really.
That's
So
pretty
like
awful.
I think because it's my mother, like deep down, it did really hurt me, even though like it really didn't because we didn't really have an emotional connection. And like even to this day, it's still like kind of like a chip on my shoulder where it's like I need to get a girlfriend, otherwise like I feel like people are gonna make fun of me
yeah,
because I
it
don't
was it
have one.
was
Even though I don't want one, like I feel like I need to get one. Like I'm obligated to have one at all
you know,
times.
you want one, but you also don't want one, but you also feel obligated to get one. But no, I was gonna say that for me too, it was weird because at some point people started wondering if I was gay or not, and I was like,
Yeah, that happened to me too, and it really pissed me off. So
I
then
was
I
like,
started
well,
going to
if you
guys
if
and
you
be
had
like,
stopped
yeah.
fucking with things to begin with, you wouldn't have thought I was gay because I would have pursued those things naturally.
Well, my
Um,
whole thing is like it's none of their business. I don't want people who are,
All right. Hey, look,
especially people
the,
that don't
the, the
respect
thing
me.
is,
Oh my
guys,
god.
remember, now it sounds like you heard a lot of shitty narratives, uh,
All the time.
Chris.
Hmm.
That's
The whole
awful. But for the most part, it, I mean, it's important to remember that we have to, we have to, we have to practice those narratives, right? So
yeah.
it's like if you're not actively saying enough, um, like that's okay. That's perfectly okay. In fact, it's preferable because I'm not forcing anything. And
Yeah.
anybody who thinks otherwise, um, well, I mean, you don't have to have an attacky approach to it. You just sort of understand that it's like they're saying the sun sets in the east. There's not even any reason to disagree with them. They just don't understand the nature of reality. The nature of reality is such that each individual human being goes through life, and we all experience a certain set of challenges with reproduction, and it's going to be either like Delilah. She had not a problem with getting people interested in her. Doesn't mean she doesn't have problems with reproductive issues because being a hot chick has its own problems, and this is something that having a hot chick as a daughter taught me to understand and respect. Hot chicks do not have it easy. They got their own set of problems, and it's just as difficult to deal with as it is for males like you and me who are not naturally reproductively successful at an easy rate, right? It's like it's a struggle for us. We got to go out and we got to work for it. We don't got to
Yeah,
just
I gotta put in a lot more effort than I want to.
yeah, right. And that's okay. And that's the thing is though we have to accept for ourselves that we are not that guy. We're not the guy who goes out and gets the chicks. We don't want to be that guy, but we've let other people convince us we should be that guy.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is I
That's the
grew
problem.
up for
Yeah.
18 years
Well,
hearing
I'm
that
telling you
every
right now, I want you to stop telling yourself about what they told you before and start telling yourself what I'm telling you now.
Hey
Because
Eric.
that's what
these
I was thinking
lies
of
that they
doing.
told you piss me off. What, Abraham?
Hey Eric, isn't that like a culture type thing?
Yeah, it
It
is.
it's called, yeah, it's a culture called the culture of fucking stupid ass bullshit that needs to be destroyed. Look,
Because like I really like I understood really early on like not to take things my mother said seriously. Like by the time I was like 10, 11, I already
it
could
doesn't mean
read
you didn't internalize them. You need
and
to
I internalized
actively,
them. And it wasn't
actively say
until
those narratives that are contrary to it.
it
What
wasn't
would that
until I
fall
went to
under? Like,
college that I really started to like understand like I don't have to do it like I don't have to follow that. Like I can do what I want, I have my own values. Things mean more to me than just like going out and banging chicks. Like to me, like that's not what I want. I want obviously I want a long lasting companionship and relationship and find somebody, perfect for me later on, but my core values aren't to go around banging chicks. So to be instilled that my entire life was just like when I really think about it, I think that's why I always lurk on those online dating sites. I'm always looking and I'm always talking with people and
What do you
talking
want to
about that.
do though? Forget about what you want to be. When you're talking about getting chicks, that when we talk about that shit, like when I say like, oh, I want a chick, what I really mean is what I want to be. I want to be a guy who's got a chick, and it's like at any given moment, I might say like I want a chick in a moment. It might mean I'm horny and I want a chick at the moment. But usually when I say I
Uh,
want a chick, I mean um, I would like to be in a relationship. That's what I mean by that. But those sentences, they are the alternative to the correct sentence, which is what do I want to do right now?
and
yeah,
that's
that's very
um,
true. That's very true.
Half of the time it's women, what I want to do at the moment. Um, the other half probably creative pursuits. I don't know.
All right. Well, the point is, if you're focusing on what you're doing rather than how you're not the person that you're supposed to be, right? It's all this be shit. Who am I supposed to
Yeah.
be? You're not supposed to be anything. You're supposed to do shit. Thanks for watching Time with Famous People. I think I'm probably gonna. I don't know. I'm probably gonna make this my last one that I do here.